Hello, and welcome to our lesson on percents. Now, you'll see in the notes that I have two different approaches noted here, an algebraic approach here on the right. For this lesson, we're not going to worry about this algebraic model. So you can ignore the parts that are the A equal PB piece. We're just going to focus on the piece on the left here, the proportion approach, saying that in our last lesson we just covered ratios and proportions. So please make sure you cover that lesson and practice before moving into the percents lesson. But proportion approach to solving any percent problem. What you want to think about depending on the context or the wording of the problem. Our setup is always is over of equals the percentage over 100, or the part over the whole or total equals the percent over 100. Now, what they mean by is over of, you'll see in our examples. Now, certain words, keywords, will tell us where the variable goes and where the numbers go. Once we've set up the proportion, our approach is just cross multiply, then divide to solve. So looking at our first few percentage problems, again, I'm just going to focus on the proportion approach so you can ignore the algebraic approach. So the proportion approach here, what is 40% of 90 inches? So if I look at my setup, I have the words is and of, and then percent over 100. So I always know if I'm given percentage, that goes over 100. So they gave me 40%, so that went over 100. Then what is, so they're asking what is. So the word is my variable. That's what I'm trying to find. And then they gave me of 90, so of was 90. So my is over of, x over 90. So what is our variable of x. Of 90 gave me the of for 90, and then 40 over 100. Then we're going to cross multiply and divide. So 90 times 40 is 360. Divide by the 100, and we would get x equals 36. In B, $12 is 15% of what amount of money? So I'm, again, ignoring the algebraic setup, and I'm just looking at the proportions. So $12 is 15% of what amount of money? So they gave me the percent again, 15%. Percent always goes over 100. So one side of my proportion has to be 15 over 100. Then they said $12 is. So $12 is, 12 goes in the place of is, of what amount? So we're trying to figure out the of. So of is x. So 12 over x equals 15 over 100. Cross multiply and divide, which you can see here, and x equals 80. So if we look at C, 255 is. So 255 takes the place of the word is. What percent? So they're asking what percent. So I know my percent will be my variable. And then they said of 85. So they gave me the of 85. So is over of 255 over 85 equals what percent x out of 100. Then cross multiply 100 times 255 and then divide by the 85, which would give us our answer of 300%. So it's 300% for our answer, which makes sense because 255 is bigger than 85. In D, And you'll see in D, E, and F, I just went to the proportion approach because I greatly prefer that over the algebraic approach. So in D, what is, so we're looking for is 65% of 220. So 65% over 100 equals x over 220 for the of. Cross multiply and divide, 220 times 65, divide by 100, and x is 143. In E, 46.5 is, so they gave me the is, 30% of what number? So we're looking for the of. So 46.5 over x equals 30 over 100. Cross multiply 46.5 times 100, divide by 30, and x equals 55, or 155. And then in F, 196 is what percent of 140? So in this case, they gave me the is and the of, and we're looking for the percent. So is over of, 196 over 140 equals x over 100. Cross multiply 196 times 100, divide by the 140, and x would equal 140%. Now, if they give it to you in a word problem, we still can use the is over of equals percent over 100 approach. So, a logging company determined that there are about 180 oak trees on an 8-acre lot. So we know there's about 180 oak trees on this lot. Oak trees make up 16% of the trees. So they gave me the number or the percentage of trees. Estimate how many total trees are on the 8 acres. So we know, in this case, we knew the 16%, and that went over 100% because percents are always out of 100. Then I know oak trees are just part of the total number of trees. So when I look back to my original setup, I have a part over a whole instead of is over of. Same meanings, just different wording. So in this case, my part, 180, over the whole of x equals 16% over 100. Cross multiply and divide, so 100 times 180 divided by 16 tells me there's approximately 1,125 total trees on the lot. In B, women make up 45% of students at a college. If there are 2,160 female students, how many total students are there? So in this case, if women make up 45% of the students at the college, 45 out of 100, the part female students over the total students, so 2160 over x, cross multiply 2160 times 100, divide by 45, and there's about 4,800 students total. Now, on the second page here, we get into applying percents in a few more complex or advanced areas. I'm not actually assigning any practice problems that really dive into these because just understanding the basic percentage, proportion solving setup is really what you need. Although, if we think about some of these word problems and you want to read through them and look at the math, each step is there along the way. So it writes it out for you in context, shows you how we came up with these answers. I would encourage those of you that feel pretty comfortable with percents just to read through these word problems, look through the math so that you can see the different parts here, with the idea like percent increase or decrease being the change over the original amount. You'll see our approaches there are just some interesting, more advanced approaches for those of you that feel comfortable to look at. Otherwise, your required type work for the set in these practice problems is just all found on this first page here.